Congratulations and welcome to the Celebrating Our Voices panel. We're so glad to have all of you here today and to basically let you see what Vassar is all about from the many students that make up our community here. My name is Donald Durham, and I'm the Associate Director of Admissions for Diversity Outreach. Just before we get started, I'm going to ask all our panelists to come on screen, and I'm going to ask them to briefly introduce themselves. So we will start with Mason, and then Mason can just pass it on from there.
Hello, my name is Mason. I am the class of 2024. I'm majoring in math and biochemistry. Yeah, congratulations on your acceptance. Really glad to you guys showing up today, and hopefully to see you guys soon next year. I will pass it to Khan.
Thank you, Mason. So my name is Khanh Lê. I'm from Vietnam. I'm also a student of class of 2024, and what else? I am a part of Vassar Haiti project, Team Inc. VC++, and Codis at Vassar. And I will pass it on to Gabby.
Hi everyone, I'm Gabby. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm a class of 2022. Here at Vassar, I'm involved with the student government, the Vassar Student Association. I'm the chair of Equity and Inclusion, and I'm also a member of the Native American and Indigenous Student Alliance here at Vassar. Congratulations again on being admitted. I will pass to, do I pronounce it Gibran?
Yeah, Gibran. Hey, I don't actually know how to, I don't have access to turn on my camera right now. Just unmute myself. If I could, if there could be, find a way to get that, that would be good, but it's all right. I can still introduce myself. Hi everybody, I'm Gibran. I am from Sleepy Hollow, New York. I am a junior here at Vassar. Some of the things I do, I'm a physics and Chinese double major, so that's my two majors. Some of the things I do on campus, I'm a member of our cross country and track and field teams. I work at our observatory on campus, which has the second largest telescope in New York State, and I play the classical guitar in the music department. So if you have any questions about those things, feel free to ask them. I'm just really happy to be here.
Okay, well, thank you all for introducing yourself, and Jerron, we'll get that taken care of for you here pretty soon. Just before we get into everything, I'll just make a couple of announcements. If you have any questions as we are going throughout the session today, feel free to put that in the Q&A section at the bottom of the screen there. And if you just want to introduce yourself and kind of tell us who you are, tell us where you're coming from, feel free to put that into the chat section. We would love to hear from you all and love to hear who is all here today. So definitely put anything that you just want to chat or tell us where you're from in the chat section. Don't be shy. So you can go ahead and start doing that now if you would like. Just to tell you a little bit about today's event is really meant to showcase the many different voices that make up our community here at Vassar. And hopefully from learning about the many ways in which students are able to celebrate their various identities, you also will want to become a part of the Vassar community as well. So with that said, we're going to jump right into our panel for today. I would like to ask, I guess, our panelists a question, and you all can always come off of mute. I'd like to ask our panelists a question on how do you feel like that your identity is celebrated here at Vassar? We'll start with Gabby, and she can pass it along from there.
Hi, everyone. Here at Vassar, there are a lot of resources available for me to use to be able to celebrate my identity. One of them that I work closely with, and while I am in the Native American Indigenous Student Alliance, is the Alana Center. Alana stands for I'm sorry, it's the, I'm forgetting right now, I'm so sorry. It's
it basically is like the various different kind of cultural organizations that we have here from, I don't remember the exact name of the acronym. I can figure it out, but it basically is for the many cultural organizations here. So African American, Latino, Asian American, Native American, all those various different identities.
Thank you for explaining that. And I feel like through this resource on campus, I've been able to meet a lot of other students who also want to be involved and celebrate their identity on campus. And within my organization, I've met a lot of students who are interested in learning more about other different identities and cultures on campus. And I've felt very supported with my fellow students and with faculty and staff and professors on campus. And I've always been very able to like celebrate my identity and like speak about whatever with my peers and faculty and staff. I can pass to Mason.
Well, adding on to what Gabby just stated, resources from Ella Center is really great. I also like involved in Portrait Magazine. It's a magazine for all Asian identifying students. And we really write a lot about our identity as Asian students, but also I'm identifying as a queer person. So I founded like the Vassar Queer Health Initiative, which is fighting for queer health at Vassar College. And I think that the resources from the campus really help to amplify our voices as individuals and as collective group. And yeah, I really feel appreciated by the institution from the first day, coming on campus to now. I feel like I've been changed completely by all the support that I received from the faculty, staff, and also the students. I learned a lot from the students in the campus about my identity and how the support from other people really helped to amplify my voices. So yeah, I pass it to Han.
Yeah, so I think for my identity, I believe it's like a continuing process of keeping developing and learn more about myself. So for me, I think it is the core value that instilled in me by my family and my culture and the values that I want to bring it with me when I'm at Vassar. So for example, big things in Vietnamese culture, like I believe is like taking care of myself and those who you love, showing respect to people, and like maybe like be careful with your words when you can use it to hurt others, right? So there are some core values that I brought with me to Vassar. So I think that's how I maintain and as well as celebrate my identity at Vassar. Yeah. And I will pass it on to Gabriel.
It looks like Gibran it looks like that he left us. We're still trying to get his back into the session. But so I guess that the next question is, what are some particular ways in terms of resources that the school is helping you to kind of express and celebrate your identity here? Okay, how about we'll start with Khan, and then you can pass along from there, and you all can just pick it up.
Yeah, so I think I want to talk about like, since I came from a different high school education system. So at my high school, like we focus on STEM subjects more than writing and reading. So I was pretty struggle with writing essays at first. I was remote last semester, right? So it was really hard for me to like write essays in general. So I emailed my professor about writing, about what I was worried about. And when I read the email, my professor replied, my heart was at ease. Also, I stopped worried too much about the course too. So I want to read for you a little bit, a part of his email. So he said, hang in there, you will get it. We can go over drafts together until you are happy. I'm willing to read multiple drafts as long as you are willing to put in the time to draft them. You are not in the danger of failing the course if you are willing to put in the time to improve the work. So like my heart melted after his email. So I feel like as a person from another country coming to the US for the first time, it's normal to be behind. Vassar is like a really rigorous school, and I didn't have a robust writing training in Vietnam, so I seek help so many times, from the department intern to writing center to the educational resources on campus, and I think I found a lot of support from Vassar. Yeah, and I will pass it on to Mason.
I think that it's really great to hear about the story and how you improved your writing, and yeah, really appreciate it. For me, how do I find support specifically at Vassar? Along with like the cooperation with the student organization and the faculty, especially the administration, there's another way to get involved to, like celebrating your voices. So different majors at Vassar will have a little subcommittee. In those subcommittee, you can, getting involved with the major that you are. So I'm very involved with the biology committee. So for biology committee, you can be involved within the hiring process. Yeah, you can involve in the hiring process. You can interviewing prospective professor. You can asking about what do they think is important for a student, how you can value diversity within, your voices, and how you can, advocating for the representation within the faculty. So I think that's one of the way you receive support from the school system and how you can be involved within the process of, reaching that equity in higher education. I will pass it to Gavi.
Hi, everyone. Building off on like the resources like the Alana Center, which I found out it stands for African American, Black, Latinx, Asian, and Native American students. I'm also involved in 2 other groups on campus, the Transitions Program, which is a 4-year program for first generation low income and or undocumented students. I identify as a first generation college student and low income. I'm also a member of the QuestBridge community on campus, which also is another support organization that connects first-gen, low-income, undocumented students on campus. And I found that being able to connect with other students who share these identities with me, especially coming in as a first-year student. I'm from New Mexico, so traveling all the way from New Mexico to New York was like a long process. I didn't know anyone coming to campus, so being able to make some friends and meet new people and like a welcoming environments like the Transitions Program and the QuestBridge Scholars here on campus has been very enjoyable and exciting. And I'm still friends with a lot of people that I met through these programs as I'm finishing up my 3rd year here at Vassar. So I'm very thankful for these programs that Vassar has here. I can pass to Brielle or.
Yeah, Brielle is just joining us. Welcome, Brielle. So Brielle, feel free to introduce yourself and then tell us how you feel like that your identity is celebrated on campus. So it looks like Brielle may be having some technical difficulties. Oh, nope. Okay, no, yeah. Still having some technical difficulties. Okay, well, we'll ask the next question then, as some of our other panelists are still trying to join us. So what is an aspect of your personality that you felt like you were kind of surprised that you were able to find community here that you was not expecting when you first enrolled into Vassar? Okay, so Mason, we'll start with you.
Actually, I never know. So since high school, I wasn't very vocal in terms of like activism and how I use my voice to advocate for others. But like going to Vassar and learning about how my voice can impact other people, I actually draft a lot of proposal from ethnic study, especially Asian American study, and how having that representation in course is so important to combat institutional and systemic racism. I also very involved with drafting like proposal for the Food Health Initiative. So learning about how I can utilizing my voices is something that I learned during this year, and how I can further my education from the day that I stepped my foot into Vassar into now. So yeah, I will pass it to Gavi.
So unique identity. I can build off of what Mason said as well. Before coming to Vassar, I wasn't really like, I guess something that I've worked on as I've been at Vassar, and I've learned is like participating in organizations and being involved in like the classroom, is being able to use my voice. I wasn't really like the type of person in high school to like raise my hand or like answer questions or whatever. But as I've been involved in like Vassar, I felt more comfortable in classrooms and being able to interact and being able to participate. And as I found like different organizations that I've or clubs that I've been involved with, I've loved being able to communicate with everyone and being able to like use my voice to communicate or like be an activist in some roles. And like if there's certain things going on campus, I'll like speak up with other students about it, or if there's other things going on in like the community or like whatever, like there's especially students who are very involved and very interested in like being a part of like different movements going on campus or in the community. That's something that I've kind of developed as I've been at Vassar as well, and I felt comfortable being able to use my voice and being able to interact with other students on that level. I can pass to Khan.
So I think I kind of want to talk about like how the education empower my voice here. So I think Vassar offers like a space for students to comfortably speak themselves. So for example, in my sociology class, when we were talking about like children wearing practices in middle class and working class, there's definitely difference between these practices between my country and the US. So I think like I feel like I'm comfortable expressing my ideas in the class because I know the professors as well as the students, they are willing to listen as well as learn from my experience, I think.
We're going to go ahead and let you all kind of see a number of students who couldn't be here for the session today, but still wanted to be a part of the program. So we're going to introduce you to a number of other students who are also going to share their identity with you now.
Hi, my name is Leslie. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a first year majoring in environmental studies with correlate in studio art. I'm originally from San Gabriel, California, which is a suburb in the Los Angeles region. So I think my identity is celebrated in a variety of ways here. For me, working at the Women's Center and being in collaboration with the LGBTQ Center helps me feel really close to my queer identity, and I feel like a lot of people here really celebrate that. Also, being in an affinity groups and working groups like FASM, which is the Asian American Studies Working Group, really helps me feel like I'm doing something for my community by expanding the Asian American Studies program here. So I'm in Raymond. This is a parlor, and I just love it because there's these big windows that you can see the light from, and you can see the whole quad from this window. And I just really love the history here. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Brian Smith. I use he, him pronouns. I am a senior, class of 2021, holla, and a drama major. And I am here in one of my favorite places on campus. This is the Street Studio, which is an acting studio within the Vogelstein Center for Drama and Film. And this is one of my favorite places on campus because I've had many a fabulous acting class in here, but also this space is really important to me right now because it is serving as the set for my senior thesis. As you can see, it's a bit of a work in progress still, but yes, I don't think I could be in a better place to answer the question, how has Vassar allowed me to explore and express my identity? Because in this room, and through the theater, I have really been able to explore every facet of myself, be it race or sexuality. I've just been so blessed to be able to work in this space and with my peers and discover who I am and what that means and how art can speak to that. This is a very, very special place to me.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn. I'm class of 2022 at Vassar. I am originally from the Bronx, New York, and at Vassar I am an Earth Science and Society major and plan to declare minors in computer science and math. Finding my space as a person of color, specifically Latina, at PWI is really challenging, but spaces like the Alana Center and the Latinx Student Union really make me feel at home or make me feel like I have a space of people like me to go to and talk about issues or talk about anything that I don't really feel comfortable talking about with other peers. And right now I'm filming in front of Sunset Lake, or the small stream, which I think is beautiful and a really nice place to de-stress with the busyness of school, orgs, and my job at the admissions office.
Hi, I'm Lauren Kim. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a first year here at Vassar College, and I'm a prospective sociology major. I'm currently in one of the Skinner Hall practice rooms. Skinner Hall, by the way, is a music building here on campus. I take a bunch of music courses. I'm in the orchestra, and I'm in an a cappella group, so I utilize these practice rooms a bunch. It's one of my favorite places on campus just because it is so comfortable for me to practice here. There's no judgment. It's just a safe place for me to come and make mistakes, practice, and it just has really good energy. And also there's always a bunch of other students here while I'm practicing, so I get to hear all of the amazing, talented Vassar students and all of their projects, so that's really exciting and fun. On campus, one of the identities I feel is really celebrated is my identity as a low-income and first-generation college student. I know that even before I came onto campus, I participated in a program called Summer Immersions. It was a really good view onto what college life would be like once I got onto campus. I got to take a couple classes before everyone else, and I got to meet some professors, and I met a professor that I took a class with my first semester, and he's really great. And I met faculty and people who I know have resources for me as a low-income student and a first-generation college student. Yeah, so I feel a lot of support through that program, and I've also felt a lot of support from Transitions on campus. Transitions is basically like a program, a student group geared towards first-gen, low-income, and POC students on campus, and I feel a lot of support coming in through that as well.
Hi, I'm Yasmina Townsley. I use she, her, hers. I am a double film and women's studies major, and I'm from Paducah, Kentucky. Vassar helps me express my own identity through courses. I am actually an Africana correlate, undeclared though, working on that. But a lot of the courses and professors here are just so amazing, and everything that I take has been eye-opening, and also it helps being a women's studies major because a lot of my classes kind of connect together, and it really makes me feel like I know myself and I know my own history a bit more. And on top of that, I've also found kind of a little bit more of connection with people in ASU. I just recently started going, but everyone there is just so nice and it feels like a family. So definitely check out some orgs.
Hello, my name is Onya Chiata. I'm currently a junior at Vassar College, so class of 2022. I am an international studies and Japanese double major. I'm active as the president of HYPE, which is Vassar's only hip-hop dance org, secretary for CODIES, which is Vassar's Korean dance crew, and events coordinator for JAS, which is Vassar's Japanese Association for Students. So as you can tell, I'm in a lot of clubs doing a lot of things. How my identity is celebrated on campus is through many different things. First, I want to bring up transitions. Because I am from a first-gen low-income background, there's a lot of people who have the same experiences as me, and we're able to come together and talk through dinners, through different activities. So big ups to thank Transitions. Then the Africana department, and even though I'm an international studies major, one of my concentrations is Africana studies. So I've been part of the Africana department for a lot of events and classes. So really big shout out to the Africana department. And last, our own student-run organization, ASU, the African Student Union. We're small, but we are mighty, and we do a lot of group activities together and just to celebrate each of our different cultures and backgrounds. So my identity on campus as a Nigerian American is celebrated through many different forms.
Okay, well, welcome back. Hopefully you were able to enjoy that little segment of some of the other students who were not able to be with us here. So at this time, feel free to put some of your questions inside of the chat function if you have any of those, and we will definitely pose those to our panelists that are here. While we are basically waiting for that to happen, for you all to kind of put in any questions that you may have. Wow, okay, it looks like Gibran has joined us now. So actually we'll pass it over to Gibran to briefly introduce himself and to let you all know how his identity is celebrated on campus.
Great. Thanks for everyone for bearing with me. Yeah, so hi everyone. If you forgot, I'm Gibran. I am a junior here at Vassar. I double major in physics and in Chinese. And so I'm a Lebanese student. So like my dad came from Lebanon, but my mom also was born here in the United States. So identify as like biracial. And so what's really cool is that, some of the different groups that I've been able to join on campus are like MBSA, which is multiracial students on campus. And so my friend at first, like I was first year at the time, and my friend was the president, and she was always trying to get me to come. And I didn't really want to go at first, but I didn't know what this was about. I didn't know what they really did. I didn't get the point of it. But when she invited me to come over, I just thought it was really cool to mix with a bunch of other students who had very multiracial, diverse backgrounds, coming from so many different areas of the world. And some students were like me too. I met some Lebanese students, some students from the Middle East, some students from Asia, and it was really just a space where people could talk about things they're experiencing as like someone who has like two different cultural backgrounds. Like sometimes like in the United States, it's hard for you to find a way to kind of celebrate your culture and a bunch of other people who might not understand where you come from, where your background is. And so it's just a bunch of people who really want to understand you, get to know you, and share different ideas. So that's how I've been able to express that identity so far.
Okay, thank you so much, and glad to have you on board. So now I'm going to pose a question that probably a lot of our attendees are thinking about, is why did you all decide to come to Vassar? Like if you had to pinpoint, I guess, like one or two reasons that really stood out to you, that you was like, what, this is the reason why I decided to come to Vassar. Tell us what that is. Gabby, we'll start with you, and then you can pass it along from there.
This is one of my favorite questions that I get asked whenever prospective students are visiting, or whenever like my family asks me why I ended up choosing Vassar. I visited a few schools at the end of my senior year, and Vassar was definitely my favorite visit. I loved the welcoming vibe that was on campus from all of the students that I met, and like the professors from the classes that I sat in. When I came to visit, it was like a super rainy weekend, so that made it kind of dreary, but I know that like the students and like the faculty also made up for that. When I was here, I ate with some students at the dining hall. I stayed with the current students, and like all of my experiences in visiting the campus and the different resources that were available was definitely memorable. I'm still close friends with the student that hosted me. I currently live with her, which is really funny, I guess, considering like I was before my first year, and now I'm like living with someone who I was a current student. So just definitely like the vibe and like the being able to sit in a classroom and like witness like what it was like being a Vassar student. So it was just, everybody was welcoming, and I really enjoyed my visit on campus. I can pass to Mason.
Thanks, Gabby. Really nice to hear your answer. And definitely, I feel like visiting Vassar and seeing how students participate in activism and vocalizing their voices. But part of it, I really enjoy STEM. I'm actually a very scientific nerd, I would say. And going to Vassar, I think that I chose Vassar because questioning science doesn't, I always have this stereotype that, oh yeah, you like science, so you probably don't like humanity. But for me, it's like I like both science and humanities, and I feel like utilizing both science and humanities and how I can not only look at for example like a virus pathway, but I can also like analyzing how that pathway has marginalizing queer people in the 80s. So I really like how Vassar created this opportunity to dialogue between science and humanity. So that's why I know Vassar is the place for me. And I really look forward for that interdisciplinary learning at Vassar. So yeah, I pass to Gibran.
Thanks, Mason. I think Mason said it really well, in that there are so many different if when you come to Vassar, you don't have to just pick one major and then feel like, oh, I've got to stick in this one area and that's all I can do, because I'm going to feel so overwhelmed if I try to step into other areas. When I was a high school student, I just had so many different interests. I wanted to study physics and astronomy, but I used to live with Chinese exchange students, and I learned from some Chinese from that. I want to continue to learn in college as well. And so I was thinking, oh, if I go to college, I'm gonna have to pick one area and not be able to mix and match. And I also played the guitar, and so I was really I wanted to go to a place where I'd be able to do them all at a pretty high level. And so when I came to Vassar, that proved to be true. Especially what I think is really cool is that you can get into it right away as a first year student. I was able to get the job at the observatory as a first year student. Start playing the guitar as well with a professor. As a first year student, and I was able to do that all alongside of running track, studying Chinese, and still studying physics. So I was like, this is like the one place where I feel like I can step in all those different boxes and not feel like I'm totally overwhelmed, because Vassar just took all their credits in every department and they just kind of brought it down one level, so that you feel like you actually have some space to breathe and experience other areas, whether it be humanities or sciences, whatever you're interested in. I'll pass it off to, I'm sorry, I was late, so I don't know how to pronounce your name, but Khan, yeah.
Yeah, you pronounced it right, thank you. So for me, I read a book from a Vietnamese person who I really like his opinion on Facebook, and he was a Vassar graduate. So in his book, he mentioned a bit about how supportive professors at Vassar are. So that's how I learned about Vassar. And in my senior year, like a representative of Vassar came to my city, and I had like a meeting with her, and that's how I learned more about Vassar. And I think like it's gonna be a great community for me to attend. So yeah, that's how and I will pass it on to Brielle.
Yeah, I think Brielle may still be having some technical difficulties. Let me go ahead and kind of pose another question to you all. And actually, it looks like we have a couple of questions in the chat. So I actually will diverge to some of those questions, and then we'll kind of get back to some other questions from you all. So one question that we have here from some of the attendees is there any support for international students, any specific organizations for students who identify as international? And if so, tell us more about that. So anybody can answer. So anyone who's kind of aware of that, you can just jump right in and take that one.
I think there is OIS, which is the Office of International Student, and within OIS there is VISA. It's an organization for international students. So OIS and VISA actually run for Andrew Mead, who is the president of Vassar Heidi Project, and they are really amazing. They're very responsive. They will send you everything you need, from your plane tickets, also like the area that you're from, the time zone that you're from. And everything is very organized, and you can also get hosted by a Poughkeepsie family that they're gonna pair you with. They can also pair you with faculty at Vassar to be your host family, not like hosting family, but more like a family of American that you can communicate and learn about your culture. There's always event happening on campus for VISA and also OIS. You can also participate in learning more about international languages and also cultural practices from the events. I actually learned a lot from Andrew and Lisa, from knowing about different culture and participate in Vassar community and especially international community. So yeah, definitely.
Okay, so it looks like that we got Brielle. So if so, go ahead and come on, introduce yourself, and tell us how your identity is celebrated here.
Hi, everyone. So congratulations to the new cohort. I'm Brielle Ilahosa. I'm from the class of 2024. So I'm currently in Burundi, so the internet was so hard to get. So As a Black low-income student, it has been quite great to attend Vassar. I was one of the lucky ones. So one of my values that I feel like I could maintain at Vassar, it was from the VHP. I think Kane talked about that. We just engage in project for the IT. So I basically love art because my granny was an artist. Yeah, she used to make some little buckets. So I'm so happy to be in that community because my identity is kind of improved in some ways. But I also get the chance to be a listener.
Oh, Brielle, it looks like we're having trouble again.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about that.
It's okay. We'll diverge to another question that we have here from our panelists. So another question that we have, and if any of you all know about this, feel free, and if not, I can answer this as well. There's a question here that says, is there a Jewish community at Vassar, and how is that identity represented there? So does anyone want to take a stab at that question?
Yeah, I can go ahead. I'm not a Jewish student, but actually my roommate is a Jewish student. Recently, they just celebrated Passover, so he actually invited me to come to some of those events. So I actually do know a little bit about Jewish life on campus. So the two main Jewish identity groups on campus are Chabad, Jewish Chabad, and the VJU. So both of them are definitely great for Jewish students who who are practicing and have different levels of engagement with their faith. So they recently just celebrated Passover, and even under COVID times, they're still able to rent out a space in our dining center, and and I'd say the Vassar community is like really great in getting them the supplies that they need. They had all the different foods that are typically there at Passover, and I'm not Jewish, but my friend invited me to come, and I learned a lot, and they had all the table set and everything was nice, socially distanced and everything, but it was still, I would definitely say that Vassar is definitely goes to if you're a Jewish student and you just still want to practice your faith, and there's definitely groups on campus that will support you in that way.
Yeah, and then the other thing that I will say is we actually have a session later on this month on Jewish studies and Jewish life. It's a panel specifically geared towards that. So if that's something that you're interested in learning more about, I definitely would encourage you to look at our list of events and sign up and attend. We will go a lot more in detail as it relates to Jewish life and identity here on our campus. Another question that I will ask you all is, let's say you were given advice to some of our students who are, still kind of trying to decide if they want to come to Vassar. And let's say for those who say like, yes, like, I'm pretty sure I want to come, I just need a little nudge. Like what kind of tips or what kind of helpful advice would you give them as they're trying to decide? What would you tell them? And anyone can take a stab. You don't have to wait for me to call on. Okay, so I will call on somebody. Mason, you want to take this one?
Yeah. So my advice, it's like, I feel like I would not say or like convince them like, oh yeah, you have to go here. But however, for me, I was just speaking of my experience. I feel that at Vassar, I'm free to be what I want to be, and I will not be like restrained by any boundary in terms of academics or even a social life or more the whole community itself. At Vassar, I can utilizing what I learned outside of Vassar into making a seminar. And as a freshman, I don't think that anywhere that could, making a freshman teaching graduate school seminar level at Vassar. And I think that Vassar gave me the opportunity, and I'm really grateful to be a part of Vassar. And I'm proud to represent Vassar to the world. So yeah, I'll pass it to Khan.
Thank you, Mason. So for me, when I was in elementary or middle school or even high school, I found it a little bit hard for me to find friends. So when I came here, I didn't really expect something like finding close friends right in my first year, but like for some reason, I have a group of friends whom I want to be with them for the rest, at least my 3 years in college, because I feel really warm-hearted every time I talk to them. And I'm grateful that I found a group of friends I want to be with. So I think, yeah, like Mason, I'm not saying you have to go here, but if you come here, you will definitely find a group of friends who you can hang out with and like trust them in seeing them as your family, I think. Yeah, and I will pass it on to Gabby.
My advice would be how flexible the course is and being able to choose a major here at Vassar is. When I first came to Vassar, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to major in, what I was interested or what I would want to do like post Vassar. Still not sure about that, but that's something else. But I didn't know what I wanted to major in. I thought I knew like the kind of area that I wanted to major in. So I took a lot of classes based on that my first year, my first semester, second semester, and I really wasn't enjoying it. And so one of my friends suggested that I take another class on like a different subject, like cultural anthropology. I'm an anthropology major now. And I took a couple classes in the anthropology departments, whereas I was taking a lot of STEM classes previously. And I found that I enjoyed the humanities a lot more. So that's definitely like flexible. I know people who are in their third year who are like changing their major because they just weren't interested in what they're interested when they first came to Vassar. And with the flexible like curriculum we have here and the ability to kind of just like work with different departments, it's very easy to like, if you want to change what you're interested in, that's super easy here to do. And you're able to explore lots of different interests. Like I still enjoy like classes in like STEM departments. So I take those classes, but I'm like mostly like a humanities type person. And I'm able to like balance like my course load with all the different organizations and different like activities here I do here at Vassar. So like, which I've like learned how to do like time management and everything as well. So also still learning how to do, but I think it's very easy to find what you're interested in and like learn even continue to learn more about what you're interested in here at Vassar. I can pass to Gibran.
Yeah, thanks, Gabby. So yeah, I would definitely say that you know, being a high school student, someone you should definitely consider like Vassar, being that it's an undergraduate only institution and that we have some really fantastic professors. It's just a fantastic combination for you to get some like very close experiences with some great professors. Being that you know, if you're, my idea of college was when I was a high schooler, is big lecture halls, so many students. I would be sitting all the way in the back. Professor would all be all the way in the front. I would have no idea what they're saying. They probably wouldn't know my name, and I'd be totally anonymous. And I was like, I really do not want that. I want, you know, an education that's a little more close knit. And here at Vassar, in my, like, so for say, like in my astronomy classes, I've been in a class with only 5 students, but the professor is fantastic. She was the first woman to receive her PhD in astrophysics at Princeton University. And there I am, you know, in a 5-person class, like with her. She, you know, and she's very nice and very, you know, willing to, very approachable. You know, she actually knows my name. She, you know, graded the work I did, and, you know, she can actually speak to who I am as a student. And that really counts in the end when, you know, you go out into the world or you apply to internships and they want to like, they ask for, you know, recommendations. They're like, they're looking for somebody who can actually speak to who you are. And Vassar professors can actually do that. Like I always think, like, if I were at a big research institution, like, you know, what am I going to ask, like my TA, like, you know, the assistant to, you know, write a recommendation for me? I'd much rather have like the professor, like someone who actually would know me a little better. So yeah, those are the kind of experience you can get at Vassar, and I'm definitely happy I chose it.
Okay.
Let me hand off. Should I swing it off to Brielle as well?
I think she's still having some trouble, but she actually sent to me her advice. And Brielle's advice for everyone is basically that you are here to learn, and feel free to ask as many questions as you want. Basically, don't hold back. That's basically what the faculty and the staff are here for. So at this point, we're actually getting down towards the end of our time together. So if there are any lingering questions that you all might have, definitely feel free to put those inside of the question and answer section, and we'll try to pose those to our panelists in the remaining time that we have. If not, another thing that we can kind of briefly discuss here is what's your favorite class that you would say that you've had here thus far being here at Vassar? Gabby?
I can start. Here at Vassar, there's the American Studies department, and within that department, there's the Native American Studies, which is what you can correlate in. You can't currently major in it, but some of my favorite classes have been in that department. I took Intro to Native American Studies the second semester of my first year, and I was very interested in it. Some more helpful Vassar advice is like, a lot of people in the class are very engaged, lots of conversation. The professors also like contribute to everything, which is something that differed from like my high school experience, is that like everyone at Vassar here wants to contribute or engage in like conversations and be actively involved. So that's something that I really enjoyed, especially the really interesting conversations that I've had with my friends and even in classrooms has been really exciting. So definitely Intro to Native American Studies. If you're here, please take that class, take some classes in the Native American Studies department. I can pass to Khan.
Thank you. So for me, I think it's the Intro to Sociology class, my first year writing seminar, because I'm a STEM kid and like I have never taken any humanity courses before in my high school. So I was a little bit nervous at first, but then as time goes by, I feel like I am more familiar with like discussion inside class, and also like learning more about the frameworks, the sociological frameworks applying to the issues in community. So yeah, it's my favorite one. And I will pass it on to Mason.
So my favorite class is actually a gender study, women's study class. It's called Troubled Girlhood. It's analyzing society, especially where women and gender, race, sexuality, and intersectionality between race and gender. And learning about a class, and as a queer person, I can seeing how femme identity within the society, and it really taught me a lot through the class discussions. It's always engaging. I never felt like I'm in a class. It feels like I'm actually, enjoying the material so much. I can, talk about it for hours and hours with professor. And yeah, going to office hour, it's a totally unique way to learn more about materials presenting in the class. So yeah, I really like the class. And if you ever go to Vassar, please take it with Professor Dunbar. It's amazing. It's just amazing. Yeah.
You're all so studious and academic. Your classes are seem like really very academic classes. My favorite class this semester has been dance, modern dance. That's why I say that. Because I've never taken a dance class before. I never done it when I was a kid or anything like that. But I was just really interested, really intrigued. I really like dancing, but I've never taken a class before. So I was like, hey, why not? And the Vassar is so great in that I don't feel like I'm so overwhelmed that I can do that. And so I've been taking low intermediate modern dance. Was the only thing that fit my schedule, so I had to go right up to intermediate. And it's been really cool because the professor is just it doesn't matter what level you really come from. I had no experience. They're really just somebody who's really trying to help you out through and with that whatever level you're at. And so we have people who are like actual dancers around the Vassar repertory dance team. If that's something you want to do, you can. And then you have people like me who have never danced before, but he's still telling me make sure you point your toes and get your leg higher and things like that, and helping me nitpick my dance techniques. So yeah, it's just something that you can do at Vassar. You can just explore in so many different areas. It's been great.
Okay. Yeah, and Brielle sent in her favorite class. She says her favorite class is Introduction to Women's Studies. And she says it offers an overview of the intersectionality between gender, race, and class, among many others. It has been a place where I can learn things other than my individual self, and it has allowed me to work on some of my biases about people and the world. Excellent. Thank you so much, Brielle, for kind of giving us what your favorite class is as well. So it looks like we're coming down towards the end of our time together. So thank you so much for coming today. Thank you to all of our panelists who joined us. And thank you all for bearing with us through all the technical difficulties, but we still got it. So thank you to everyone. And if you have any questions that you were not able to get in, I guess via this presentation and still want to ask those questions, I'm putting the admissions kind of email inside of the chat function right now. And then also, let's say you say, you know what, I kind of don't want to talk to anyone professional. I kind of just want to talk to some students. We have that option for you as well. And if you want to kind of ask that privately, we have also an email that's called Ask a Student at vassar.edu. And I also have put that inside of the chat function as well. So thank you so much for coming. Hopefully you all are enjoying your Saturday, and hopefully you learn just a little bit more about how your voice, regardless of whatever your voice is or whatever your identity is, definitely has a place here at Vassar. And not only has a place here, but it would be celebrated. So that's it for us today, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.